we're joined today by Curtis Estes. Thank you for joining us. I'd love actually for you to introduce yourself. I'm a big believer that you'll be much better at introducing yourself than I will.
Why, thank you, Leo. I am a farm kid who grew up in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, and raised pigs and sold them at the county fair. Had a great normal upbringing until at age 11, on Christmas Day, our house burned to the ground and we had no fire insurance. And so we lost everything and moved into a trailer house. And that was a pretty brutal impact in many ways, as you might imagine, but especially on my parents' marriage, which ended up ending in a divorce. And there were times in high school when my mom, sister, and I all worked at McDonald's together to bring in money, but it was that experience that in the midst of very tough times helped me to realize that we can always dream of a better future. And so I'm grateful for where that experience has left me in terms of being in a place of always dreaming bigger for tomorrow. And as part of that, it inspired me in college to think bigger than just the University of Kansas. And so I got an internship in Washington, D.C., spent a summer there and met some guys from L.A., and we started a publishing company. So I spent a summer in Los Angeles before my senior year of college, and I thought, wow, if I could only live in L.A. one day. And then in my senior year, I was trying to figure out what to do after college, and I knew it wasn't going to be publishing because we didn't make much money. And at an entrepreneurs conference, I met a young guy who loved what he did, and I thought maybe I could do that too. And so I went up to him afterward and said, I have no money, but I think I'd be good at this. Would that be a problem? And he said, no. And I said, I'd love to do it in Los Angeles. Would that be a problem? And he said, no. And so literally 7 days after graduating from KU, I moved to Los Angeles. I got here on a Saturday, and it was a Jewish friend that recommended Bel Air Presbyterian Church. So I went there on Sunday, and I started a financial planning practice with Northwestern Mutual on Monday, and I've been doing the same thing every week for 33 years. So now married to my beautiful bride, Christy, 24 years next month with 3 kids, teenagers living their best life, and just grateful for the opportunity to have a business that allows me to meet lots of interesting people like you, my friend. So such a pleasure to be here.
So you said 3 kids, all teenagers.
Yes, indeed. We've got a sophomore at UCLA. We've got a very active volleyball player, Vivian, who's a senior at Pacifica Christian High School. And our youngest son, Christian, is a freshman at Pacifica Christian. So Jordan, Vivian, and Christian, boy, go boy. Having a blast chasing these kids all over sporting fields across Southern California as they aspire to make the most of this glorious time called teenagedom.
And what to you does family mean? How would you define family?
I love that question. I'd say it's community that you are able to create with the nuclear family, of course, which is super important. But I expand the definition of family to really the people who you love, even those that you aren't related to by blood. So to me, family is that community of friends that we've built in addition to the immediate family. And what I love so much about Los Angeles is it's a big city, but a small town. And I feel like there's so many family members that make life very rich in so many wonderful ways.
It is. I think it's the family you choose.
That's exactly right. I like the way you put that.
It's funny, those people not from Los Angeles, I think of Los Angeles as this big city, but you're right. It in many ways actually a remarkably small city because you live in your, let's call it, bubble of LA, and actually those bubbles are relatively small.
That's exactly right. I might bump into you this evening at the club.
And tell us about your T-shirt.
Well, thank you for asking. So I've always been a big goal setter, And about 20 years ago, a buddy of mine showed up in the gym with this T-shirt on, and I thought he had it on backwards. And I said, "Dude, your shirt's on backwards." He said, "No, it's just printed in reverse, so that when I'm, looking in the mirror, pumping iron, I get to see my goals in the right order." So this is my goals T-shirt. I have about 20 of them in different colors, and it has all my goals printed in reverse, such that when I'm brushing my teeth or working out at the gym, it just reminds me of those things that I'm striving for.
Would you like to share some of those goals?
Yeah, it's all about, faith and family and business and really being the best version of myself. So yeah, it's just I think it's a great way to remind me of why we do what we do, and for some people it's having Post-it notes on their bathroom mirror or any number of places. But yeah, for me it's faith and family and giving back to make the world a better place.
And what does obviously health and actually health span are both important areas to you. And, obviously health span define, certainly how I would define it is living as healthy as you can until you die. Not about living longer, but being as healthy as you can. I'd love to hear your definition of health span and health generally, and how you live a healthy life.
I aspire to be as ripped as you one day, my friend. But yeah, I'll expand on the question just a smidge by sharing kind of how all of this, immediate current interest came about a year and a half ago. I went to this longevity conference put on by Peter Diamandis, Tony Robbins, and David Sinclair out of the Harvard Longevity Institute. And basically they said, if we can just live 10 more years, so many of the things that could kill us are going to be pretty much figured out. Like literally in 10 years, every fall, you're going to have your flu shot and your cancer shot, because they're literally working on cancer vaccines as we speak. And so I just thought, like, wow, that's kind of amazing. And then the crazy thing about this conference is when you registered, you had to say not only what name you wanted on your name badge, but also to what age you expected to live. And so when you introduced yourself to, the Stanford longevity professor, you see like, he's planning on living to 150. And there was a gentleman there, who's in his 70s planning on living to 156. And then there's Tony Robbins, 200, and Peter Diamandis, 200 plus. And it just blew me away. And the point that they made is that when the brain thinks of longevity, it thinks linearly. So it thinks, my grandparents lived to this age, my parents lived a little bit longer than that, and so probably I'll live a little bit longer than my parents. And yet we live in a world where technology isn't advancing at a linear rate, it's really advancing at an exponential rate. And so when the brain thinks about longevity, it just can't even fathom the ramifications of exponential acceleration in longevity. And so even though it's natural for us to think, I'll make it to 80, 85, 90, their real point is that we might be able to live far longer than we ever imagined. And the consensus at the end of the conference was really that no matter how old you think you might be able to live, we all, because of this exponential acceleration in advancements, we all need to plan on at least the possibility of an extra vital, healthy, impactful 30 years. So, even if your number's 90, you still need to plan on the possibility of 120. And when I thought about the ramifications of potentially living an extra 30 years, like, whoa, there's some really big things. And so I had three epiphanies. And the first one was, to your point, nobody wants to be really, really old and sick. And so it's way more about health span than simply lifespan. It's about quality of life. And so it made me realize that it's very important that we all pay attention to these advances that are occurring and take advantage of as many of them as possible. And so I have doubled down on my health initiatives since then, and really feel like there are so many even very low-hanging fruit things that we can do to dramatically improve our health. So that was the first epiphany. No one wants to be old and sick. But the second epiphany was equally important. Nobody wants to be really, really old and lonely. And so I just thought, like, of my own mother-in-law. She's 90 years old, living in Sacramento in the same house she's lived in for 60 years. All of her family's moved away. All of her friends have passed away. And she's desperately lonely, and yet she refuses to move. And it's a super sad situation. It's like, I don't want to end up like that. And so it made me realize that it's important even now to be very intentional about creating a community of people that you'd love to spend all these extra years with, our family, the family you choose. And so I identified 8 mindsets of the people I'd love to spend as much time with as possible. I started sharing that with friends, and they all said, yeah, I'd like to be part of that. So we started doing these longevity dinners last year, and we did about 12 of them. And at the end of the year, over 200 people had come to our events. And we realized they're like, whoa, maybe we're onto something. So I thought, well, at least we should name it. So we've called our longevity community the Anti-Retirement Club. Because if you are going to live so much longer, you just don't want to be bored. You want to have purpose. We're all about not retiring, but maybe transitioning, maybe something that you don't have to earn an income for, but still bringing value to the world. And so starting this year, we went from 1 event a month to 2 or 3 events a month. And so we are doing longevity dinners, longevity mixers, longevity hikes for those people that really want to double down on their longevity efforts. We have a mastermind where every quarter you have to commit to testing a new longevity breakthrough and then share it with the community. And then because our community's grown so far outside of Los Angeles, we do a monthly longevity Zoom. And that's just been fun because for all these events, we're bringing in MDs, PhDs, longevity tech CEOs, and we're just being exposed to so many different wonderful ways to live younger, longer. And then the third epiphany, of course, is you don't want to be really, really old and sick. You don't want to be really, really old and lonely, but neither do you want to be really, really old and broke. And so I just wondered, were there financial security products that already existed but had never been considered from a super longevity perspective? And we found out that, in fact, there were, and there's some incredible arbitrage opportunities because of mispricing in the marketplace. So yeah, ever since going to that conference last year, I've just had this incredible sense of mission and purpose to want to educate as many people as possible about living really, really long and surrounded by people they love, super, super healthy, and with financial independence that allows them to be, generous to all those around us. So from a health perspective, at 56 now, I'm more committed to taking better care of myself than ever before. And again, as I mentioned before, one of the wonderful things, so many of the things are fairly simple. They might not be easy, but they're simple, and most of them are free. So from just, reducing my alcohol intake to, maybe once or twice a month, massive difference, much more intentional about my sleep, exercise, obviously, just coming from the gym now, and then my diet. I'm much more careful about what I eat than I was in the past, and excited to see the results.
Sleep is one of those things people, you get all these super successful people who say they can manage on 3 hours or 4 hours sleep. I've always liked that Jeff Bezos says he likes 8 hours sleep a night. You know what? To be honest, every study you read says that is one of the most important things to your body. Your body needs that time to recover. Maybe you can manage on 4 hours. I can't. But maybe some people can. But your body ain't recovering in 4 hours sleep. Your body needs time to recover, both in terms of physical, mental, and by the way, you lose weight. You're burning calories overnight. At that group you're launching sounds fun. I'll have to come along.
I would love to have you, and if there are links or anything, we'd be happy to share our Anti-Retirement Club scorecard for people to just kind of see where they rank in their longevity journey.
Definitely send that over, and I'll make sure to include that. You mentioned, I think, there were 8 fundamentals, 8 beliefs, 8 something within as part of that club. Love to sort of hear a little more about that.
Yeah, for sure. So the 8 mindsets are always growing and learning with purpose. So that's the first one, always growing and learning with purpose. Second, committed to health. Third, we are better together. So there's that ancient African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. The fourth mindset is the world is our playground. The next one is my future is much bigger than my past. So even if you're 80, you can still have a big future. At this time of year, one of my favorites is the mindset that more unites us than divides us. We really have so much more in common, and if we focus on that, it's a happier place. I love the old, I think it was Sting who said the Russians love their children too. The last two mindsets are wealth is a powerful tool to steward. And the final one is that we're blessed to be a blessing. So it's not all about us. It's how can we give back and make the world a better place around us.
Absolutely love that. That's inspirational. Thank you. And tell us a little more about work. Obviously, you give us some inklings there, but tell us a little more about, and you've been doing it a long time now. 33 years is...
33 years in the financial planning world, really helping people be smarter with their money. About 24 years ago, I went through this wonderful lifetime growth program called Strategic Coach, and it talked about a concept that I really embraced, which is the fact that everybody has a unique ability, activities that they love to do that give them energy and provide never-ending opportunities for growth. And so when I started doing the exercises, I just thought, well, who doesn't want to spend more time in their unique ability? And the point that they made is that, if you can spend more time doing things that you love to do that give you energy and provide never-ending opportunities for growth, you're going to have more fun. And as a byproduct, you're going to be more successful. And yet, most people are only spending 5 to 15% of their time in their unique ability. And that's ultimately going to lead to frustration, depression, and burnout. And so the key is to get clear on your unique ability and set up your environment so you're able to spend at least 50% of your time in your unique ability. And if you're able to do that over time, that's what leads to genius level results, kind of the whole 10,000 hours concept. And so as I went through that exercise, I just assumed my unique ability was going to be, something around the financial planning world. And yet as I sought feedback from clients and friends and family and mentors, it became clear that while I was obviously very, very good at that, my passion was truly meeting, befriending, and connecting superstars for mutual benefit. And I thought, well, gosh, how do I, do more of that? And so that's when I started doing the original version of our dinners. So 15, 20 years ago, we started doing these monthly dinners, bringing together entrepreneurs and just interesting folks. And so we've done hundreds of those dinners over the years. And now, post-COVID, with such an interest in connecting, we've gone from doing one dinner a month to, on average, a dinner every single week. And so it's just super fun for me to be bringing awesome people together on a really regular basis. And just this past Wednesday, we had a dinner at one of our favorite spots, the Secret Table in Beverly Hills. And I got to sit next to Anush Asari, one of the first private individuals to go up in space. And she's now the CEO of X Prize and just an incredible, inspiring woman. And so it's just really fun for me to be able to curate groups of interesting people and make connections, and beautiful things happen as a result.
What do you like to do for fun?
Well, like you, I love to run. I love mountain biking. At the same time, hanging out with friends and getting to know interesting people. As we mentioned earlier, love podcasts, always inspired by podcasts. And one of the things that I'd love to share is just an encouragement to everybody listening, if you haven't already, to think about what book you'd like to write. I think everybody's got a book or two in them. And so one of the things that I've been able to do over the years is actually to publish five different books. And so the first one is entitled Your Life by Design, a step-by-step guide to creating a bigger vision for your future. And what I realized is it's just way easier to write a book now than most people imagine. And it's just such a cool way to be able to put something that's meaningful to you on paper that will outlive you and hopefully be something to add value to kids and grandkids and great grandkids that you might not ever meet. So that's a really cool thing I love to do as well.
At the moment, my version of that is my website and brand that I'm building, and over time, maybe a book can come out of that. We actually, for my father's 80th a few years ago, we did something. There's something called Life Book, and they do these. They basically, you have sort of a ghostwriter who helps you write the story of your life, and I mean, it was, he both loved the experience and it's been fun to read.
Oh, good for you.
What would you say has been sort of a pivotal moment in your life, either personal, business, or both?
One that I'd love to share that actually ended up becoming my most recent book is about 2 years ago, I went to the funeral of someone I'd never met before. And this was the brother of a really good friend of mine who 5 years earlier was a fire captain here in Los Angeles, true hero, first responder, but he got diagnosed with ALS. And so he knew it was just a matter of time, didn't know how long he had. And so through his brother, I kind of, heard, every stage of his decline. And so when he passed, I asked his brother, I just said, I feel like I've kind of lived through this with you. Would you mind if I went to his funeral? And he said, no, of course not. And so I went to this funeral, and when you have 5 years to prepare for your funeral, it could be amazing. And so like every single detail of this funeral was so moving, like from the bagpiper who was playing the moment you walked in, to the Bible verses, to the worship music. The two people that gave the eulogy were asked 2 years before he died, would you speak at my funeral? And so everything about it was just incredibly inspiring. And when I left the funeral, I just thought, like, wow, that was the most meaningful funeral I'd ever experienced. End of the day, I was just thinking, like, I want a funeral that's cool, that's that moving, and so that was the thought that was on my head as I fell asleep that night, and I woke up at 3 a.m. the next morning, and I thought, well, doggone it, why not have a funeral that's moving? So literally from 3 a.m. to 4 a.m., I wrote down every single detail of my funeral. And when I woke up the next morning, I was just like so excited about how great my funeral was going to be. And all day long, I'm thinking like, wow, I can't wait for my funeral. It's going to be amazing. I'm just super excited about that all day long. And then as I was going to bed that next night, another thought occurred to me, and that was, how most funerals today aren't called funerals, they're called celebrations of life. And while I was so grateful to have had the opportunity to go to my friend's brother's celebration of life after he died, I would have much rather have gone to his celebration of life while he was still alive. And it just struck me like, why do we wait until we're dead to have our first celebration of life? And I just thought, man, what a missed opportunity. And so that was my thought as I went to bed. And again, I woke up at 3 a.m. the next morning. I thought, like, I'm not going to wait until I die to have my first celebration of life. So from 3 a.m. to 4 a.m., I wrote down every detail of, the celebration of life that I want to have on every fifth major birthday. And so the plan is to have my first celebration of life this coming April, the Saturday between Good Friday and Easter Sunday. And the idea is that it's not a birthday. It's not celebrating me. It's really celebrating all those people that I love, and making sure that they know each other. Because in life, we tend to live in very much distinct silos. Our work friends don't know our exercise friends, who don't know our school friends, who don't know our family friends. And so many times those people that you love don't even meet each other until you're dead. And so it's like, I want my kids to know all these people who are so meaningful to me now. And I just think that this is such a beautiful idea. And so I shared those two epiphanies with many friends and said, you should write a book. And so my most recent book is entitled Celebration of Life, Celebrating Today While Preparing for Tomorrow. And the first half is all about preparing for an incredible funeral, but then there's no reason to wait. Pick a day now and let's plan out how you could have your first celebration of life. So that was quite a turning point, and one that helps me stay focused every day on making the most of the gift that we have that's our life.
What number was on your longevity conference badge?
132. 132.
Okay, so without getting too much into it, you certainly got another 20 plus of those. You got another 15 plus of those celebrations. And you're also going to need to continue updating your funeral plan, because who the hell knows what it's going to be like in another 70 years. I mean, it might all be virtual.
That's possible. That's certainly possible.
How good are you at switching off from work? Can you truly switch off from work?
I'm always thinking, that's for sure. At the same time, we do schedule regular long weekends, getaways with my wife, getaways with the kids. And so it can take a few days, but my favorite way to switch off is actually on cruises. So we've got a cruise to Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao scheduled over Christmas, and just being out in the middle of the ocean, it's a good excuse for why you're not responding to emails or picking up the phone. So yes, those are ways for me to switch off. And the other thing that I think helps a lot is I read every night before bed, and so having that bedtime ritual allows me to go to sleep without being distracted by any loose ends from the day.
Excellent. Now the question is, does the cruise ship have Wi-Fi?
It's exorbitantly expensive to pay for the Wi-Fi, and being married to a wonderfully frugal CPA, Christy, does not allow us to spend money on that.
Perfect. So hopefully they don't start giving it away for free.
No, hopefully not.
My theme, I think, in life is, and it sounds like yours is as well in many ways, is about finding that balance. And a balance can shift. Sometimes it's more balanced one way than the other. It's not a permanent equilibrium. But how does a balanced life look for you?
I would just change it a little bit, and instead of say balance, I'd say integrated. And so for me, an integrated life is one where it's not, black and white. There's a lot of complementary things going on all the time. Certainly, we are very intentional about spending time together as a family and having dinner together. One of my books is entitled Family First, How to Be a Hero at Home. And that book is truly a confession that while I thought I was putting my family first, I realized that I wasn't. And as an example, I was horribly imbalanced to the point that I would, have the Wall Street Journal at the dinner table, and just embarrassing things that I did that thankfully were brought to my attention and been changed over time. But now the integration is, when I'm with my family, the phone is off. When we're playing games after dinner, when we're on vacation, it's very much about being present. At the same time, I don't feel bad either after dinner and the kids are doing their homework. If there's some things that I need to catch up on or to prepare for tomorrow, I'm really happy to have that time to get ahead of the game and stay on top of things. So for me, it's really just, more about being intentional about how you are spending your time. I don't hardly ever watch TV. I'm spending next to no time on social media. And so for me, it's really having a clear intention about how to make the most of every day.
I love how you're living your life with purpose, and I'm pretty focused on what's important.
It is a work in progress.
I mean, that's life, isn't it? I mean, and anyone who's not a work in progress is fooling themselves.
Indeed.
Hopefully we all continue growing through the journey and having fun along the way.
And that's why having good friends like you make all the difference, because when you shared earlier that you're now more ripped than ever, it's like, all right, I'm going to do a few extra crunches the next time I'm in the gym.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I have to say, at the age of 51, I am the healthiest and fittest I've ever been in my life, and I think that feels, for me personally, you know, it's not a vain thing. It feels especially good because, to be honest, for so much of my life, I wasn't. I am an athlete now. That even 2 years ago, I probably wouldn't have described myself as an athlete. So most people were in high school, and maybe they fell out of it and they got back into it. I wasn't. I mean, it's definitely something that came later in life to me. So it's fun. How can people find you? How can they read your books?
If we have show notes, we can certainly put links to that. But for anyone who would care, I'd be happy to gift you the e-version of my first book, Your Life by Design. So literally just go to yourlifebydesignbook.com/friend of Curtis, and you can get a free download of the ebook. But yeah, on Amazon, and the books are Your Life by Design, Family First, How to Be a Hero at Home, Smart Money, 8 Strategies for Financial Security, Success, and Significance, I Am, which is a daily devotional, and then the most recent book is Celebration of Life. And then LinkedIn, obviously, is very, very good. But if you look to Instagram or Facebook, you probably won't find many posts.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed this chat. So thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and beliefs.
Thank you, my friend. Blessings.